Hey, worship teams, thanks so much for joining us. Glad you're with us on today's Worship Team Hangout training tracks. We are so delighted that you have chosen this time to learn more about your vocal abilities and the way that we can lead worship to empower our church, our teams, our vocal ensembles, our singers, our choirs, whatever it may be. We are so glad that you're here, and we are also most grateful and glad to have Miss Stefanie Kelly here. Stefanie, how are you today?
Doing well. How are you?
I'm doing well. It's great to see you as always.
Thanks, you too.
Yes. And guys, if you haven't checked out Stefanie and the rest of the crew on the Worship Team Hangout, please be sure to do that. Coming up on our next episode, we will be having Corey Voss, who is a fantastic worship leader, fantastic songwriter. That's going to be coming up next Wednesday, so be sure to join us for that. And also, Stefanie and I will be coming back at you with some more vocal work. So let's go ahead and get right to it. Stefanie, how about it?
Sounds good.
All right, great. Good. Sounds great. So today we're here to talk about the Part 2 section, and we call this, well actually, Stefanie calls this the 3 W's. And basically, when we look at Scripture, Scripture has a lot to say about singing. But have you really thought about what the New Testament has to say about singing? And I just don't mean the past few verses that we've been working through, which is Ephesians 5:13, to sing songs, hymns, and spiritual songs. But I found this cool verse in 2 Corinthians 8:12 that says, "For if the willingness is there, the gift is acceptable according to what one has, not according to what one does not have." Isn't that so true, Stefanie? I mean, we get so tangled up into, man, if we only had that one tenor, or if we only had that one soprano singer, or the electric guitar player, or whatever it may be, instead of just using what we have. So Stefanie had a great idea to talk about how do we make the most of what we have. And the reality is this, folks, is this. The reality is you can't change the voice God gave you because what God hears is beautiful. So our task today is what can we do to get better at what God's already given us for His glory. Stefanie, take it away.
So true. That is so true. And the church that I'm currently working at right now, College Ave Baptist, we were talking about this just yesterday. I love to think of it as my boutique church because, and by boutique I think of not anything highbrow, but just a very special group of people that we have kind of built the team around their giftings. And so, like, for example, recently God brought us a French horn player who is so good.
Wow.
And we are kind of like customizing our services to include him. And that's so special because it's unique. It's working with what God has given us and doing the very best that we can using those people, and it's just so special to me. So we want to do that with our vocalists. I just think the gift of voice, like you said, is such a special thing. It really is an instrument, and there's a lot that we can do with it that we're not yet doing. So
true.
I have 3 W's.
What are they?
That just helps me kind of work through vocal arrangements and rehearsals. The first one is warm up. We got to warm up our voices. And I'll touch on that in a minute. Second one is work with and through. So work with what you have and work through things. Work through your parts, strategically design them. And then the third one is worship. And so the first one, let's just go through some warm-ups. We're going to use 10,000 Reasons, one of my favorite songs by Matt Redman. And I like to just kind of customize my warm-ups. And I like to take lines from songs because it triggers the correct lyrics too when we're singing. You know, a lot of times heaven forbid we miss a word or something, but or the lyric person gets lost or whatever it may be, you know. You suddenly get a frog in your throat, but if you have those lyrics in your head, I think it lessens those chances, at least for me, of that stuff happening. So
true.
Play me. We're going to do 10,000 Reasons in E.
Okay. That's our
There's
note
your E
right
chord.
there.
So you could start up. I would start up or warm up. I've only had 1 cup of coffee this morning, so.
It's okay.
So your A chord is the beginning of your verse chord.
And I'm just playing an A2 right here.
Yeah, nice. Yeah, that A2 is pretty. So you could do for a warm-up, like that second verse, rich in love. You're rich in love. So I would take the vowel, I would just use the vowels and go E with more of an E. So E, E, isn't really a vowel, but you still sing it.
So it would be more like E, and I think that through that, Stefanie, we're kind of losing a little bit of the video, but yeah. So I mean, yeah, definitely. I just demonstrated that exercise, and so the E, and it's more of a ya sound.
And make it more of an ah. Start with the and then open it up a little bit into the ah. And then change your key, and you can go up the scale. So B flat to F.
So. Nice.
Yeah, and then you just go up and down the scale. That helps your musical chops if you play an instrument, and it also just awakens your voice. The E is a really good vowel to awaken everything.
Awake my soul, right?
Yes, awake my soul.
But you're so right though about the different vowel changes, because especially the E's, it also gets singers to smile as opposed to just stand there like they're still asleep and they need that extra cup of coffee, right?
Right. Yes. Two, another technique to use as you're finding whatever vowels, because any vowel will work on this stuff, but try doing a straight tone and then just having your vibrato at the very end, because a lot of the songs and the styles nowadays aren't utilizing vibrato, and that's okay, but we should work on the straight tone then.
Right.
So you could go, a lot of times I just do a simple note, E-A-O, then I add my vibrato. E-A-O, E-A-O. So that'll work. And then last point on this, instead of always doing the root, go to like the 5th or the 3rd of the chord, and that develops your ear. So give me your E chord again.
Okay.
And start low and go high too, and back and forth until it's, you're going to start in this range, and then you're going to expand, and then you're going to expand. That's how you warm up. So my E chord, if I wanted to do the 3rd, go to your F. Let's go to the 5th. That's how I start working on riffs. There's your A.
Right.
A little more.
Well, and that's what you mentioned on the last lesson as well, is to find some of those little passages and those lyrical phrases to create warm-ups. That's a great idea. And that's what we're doing here.
Yeah, that's what we're doing. And then I wanted to do that riff. Ooh, Just make that into a warm-up.
Mm-hmm.
Ooh. So the warming up can be really fun. It doesn't have to be me, 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 me.
Right.
Moo, 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 moo.
But there are great ways to work on the different passages of songs, especially even taking the most difficult parts of the song and making them more familiar, so that way singers can keep them in the brain. So
Absolutely.
tell us about the second W, work, with what you have. What do you mean by that?
Well, I mean, know the voices that you have every week. If it's a different combination, then you want to adjust and arrange your vocals to what you know will work well. I mean, it takes more time, but it's so worth it. So, like, if you have one Sunday a male who's going to sing in the tenor bari range, and you have two other female vocalists, one will probably be the alto, which is probably the melody, and then you're going to voice your harmony parts with the soprano part above. So you just have to be mindful of who you have to work with. You're not going to stick the tenor on the melody all the time if it's too high for him,
right,
or if it's too high for the congregation.
Mm-hmm.
You're gonna first think of, where's the congregation going to sing? And then who do I have to work with? And we're going to voice their parts around that melody line and around their ranges.
And not around the worship leader. I love it.
No, the worship leader is probably on staff, so they need to work out they need to add a couple notes to their range if they need to make it more, more friendly to the congregation.
Right.
Or probably use less of their range.
Right.
Downsize it.
Mm-hmm. So that means we don't have to constantly sing in the key of B, which no one else can be with us.
Good play on words.
Thank you. Potato. So tell us about there was a second half of the W that you mentioned.
Well, work it out.
Yeah.
Work with and work out or work through. And so let me show you. Let's play the chorus of 10,000 Reasons, and I'll show you what one note can do to change the sound.
Okay.
Bless the Lord, oh my soul, oh my soul. I would say you listen here. Worship His holy name, and then keep going. Sing like never. Oh my soul, and back to unison. And so now play it, and what I just want to show you is that first line. Bless the Lord, oh my soul, or whatever. But a lot of times the singers will tend to go, bless the Lord, oh my soul, instead of bless the Lord, oh my soul. So play your regular progression, Branon, the A to E to the B. So bless the, keep going.
Bless the Lord,
oh my soul. Just that much.
Yeah, bless the Lord.
Now, can you sing the melody when I sing that different note, the F sharp? Okay.
2, 3. Bless the Lord, my soul. And the video is off just a little bit, but I think the viewer gets the idea.
Yeah, so here's what is that one note instead of bless the Lord, oh my soul, singing bless the Lord, oh my soul, instantly makes the chord, whether you're playing this or not, like an F sharp minor over an A. And that changes the sound. Whereas if you just sing bless the Lord, that
Bless
is
the Lord.
Oh my soul, that's a true A, as opposed to bless the Lord.
Bless the Lord. We might as well go, bless the Lord, oh my soul. But
Yeah,
let's sing a true A.
And we're not talking preferences here. Like, if you like that sound, great. I just want to give you ways to get different sounds. So if you want more of a true pop sound, or just a very like straight A sound, then you don't add the F sharp. But you have to work that out with your vocalists. And that's why in my rehearsals, I do spend a lot of time working through voice.
So she spends a lot of time working through the voices and the vocal parts of each song. And that tends to be important because as we, figure out the sections that we're singing, sometimes we notice that there are things that are not there, and then we find them out actually when we're spending more time working on it.
Yeah. And
Hey,
it's
go ahead.
It's better the more that you work out in a rehearsal, that you listen to each other, because the more you're playing the same notes in different ranges, the better, the more clear it sounds,
Good point. Can you take us through the last W, which is worship? What does that mean?
Yes. Well, it just means that you've done all your warm-ups, you've done all your preparations, you've worked through your parts. You haven't just improvised your parts, you've worked them out. And sometimes that requires a separate vocal rehearsal or an early call time for the vocalists. I usually have my vocalists there a half hour early, and we just work through our parts again, so that the last W you can worship. And it is possible to remember the parts and retain. We talked about retention a little bit the last time, but to retain the parts that you've worked out and worship God at the same time. You don't just lose that aspect because you're so in the moment. You can remember these parts, and you can be kind of thanking God that He's given you a brain that can retain these parts. I mean, that is worshiping God.
Yeah.
You can be thanking God while you're singing, saying, Lord, thank you that you gave me the time necessary this week to rehearse these parts. That is worship. I mean, you don't want to be like multitasking in your thought life, but what I'm trying to say is that you want to remember those parts that you worked out, and that in and of itself is an act of worship, because you're worshiping God with the time that you spent. You're worshiping God by honoring other people in the band who have also put time in. When we just go off on our own or don't spend the time to work on these parts and retain them, we're dishonoring other people that have spent time. And so getting our parts together, being in the moment, but remembering what we worked for is like so glorifying to God and to the people that you work with. And it's the same too. It's like in war, your battle tactics, you're not going to forget your tactics when you go to war.
Yeah.
And worship is warfare. I say to people, especially, and this is another subject, but to people that are struggling with the different styles of worship, I say change your mindset. Go into this worship setting, whatever music is happening, go into this with a mindset of, this is warfare. I am coming in this unified body to battle out what I'm going through in my heart. So if they play jazz and I don't like jazz, so be it. This is modern warfare. If they play classical and I don't like it, so be it. This is war. We're going to war for this thing I need God to do.
Mm-hmm.
And so we want to worship, but we want to be worship warriors that are prepared.
Right. Absolutely. Well, what you brought up about the soldier and going to warfare is true. I mean, your husband serves, and we thank you for his service to our country. My family
Thanks.
has also served. Yes, and it really comes down to survival. Everything is about survival and what to do in that moment. And we bring this point up, worship leaders and teams and vocalists, because of the fact that it's so easy that when we go into leading worship mode, we do forget the things that we worked on. Stefanie, but like you said, when we recall the events of what God has done through our lives and the talents that He's given us, and Psalms 33:1 through 3 tells us to sing joyfully and play skillfully. We can do that because when we do prepare, then that should be the hallmark of that service. And I've talked a lot about that this past week in some articles regarding vocals and also some band work. I talked a lot about the story of Joshua and how Joshua and the tribes, when they carried out the work of God, it was through the previous act of preparation. And when we prepare every time, we can't go wrong. So next time, we've ran out of our minutes here with our training tracks, but want to thank you, Stefanie, so much for being here with us. Thank you.
You're welcome. I love it. I want the church to be the best that it can be for the glory of God.
That's right. Awesome. And we will see Stefanie back on our next worship team hangout. So be sure to check us out next Wednesday with Corey Voss. We're going to have a great time. And we have some other, Jonathan Lee, actually. Jonathan Lee is going to be joining us. So we have, I got that backwards, Jonathan Lee and then Corey Voss. So Jonathan Lee is next week, and then Corey Voss after that. We're going to come back to Stefanie, have some more vocal work, and then we'll have another Training Tracks episode with Mitch Bohannon from Kaiser Capos. And that's going to be fun for all you guitar players out there. So guys, again, thanks for joining us here on Worship Team Training Hangout, Training Tracks. Have an awesome day, and may tonight or whenever this week is for your rehearsal be the very best that God's given you, that you can make it to be. Have an awesome week, and we'll see you next time soon. Bye-bye.
Bye.